Hi, I'm Keith Salzberg-Dresdal, Regenerative Design Group Principal. I founded the company about 11 years ago with two partners to focus on bringing more ecological function and agricultural production into the built environment of people's homes, the cities that we live in, and the sort of shared landscapes that get created. So we're here at the Springfield Museums, which was one of the key sites for the Springfield Rain Garden Project. The Springfield Rain Garden Project was initiated by the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission and overseen by Patty Gambrini with funds from Massachusetts Clean Water Action to help improve stormwater quality and in-stream quality for the rivers surrounding Springfield. Rain gardens are an important urban solution because they help deal with the stormwater that comes from so much impervious surface that forms the arteries and matrix of our urban areas. So I'm standing in the main infiltration basin, which is the heart of any rain garden. Basically, a rain garden takes rainwater that collects on a hard surface like a roof or a parking lot, and then moves it to a living landscape that has porous, ideally sandy soils that can absorb and filter that water, taking any nutrient load that might be in there, and particularly the particulate matter that might be coming off a parking lot, and holding it in place and allowing the clean water to recharge the groundwater. The rain gardens are especially important in cities because they help reconnect the stormwater that falls from the sky with the groundwater that is otherwise cut off by concrete and asphalt surfaces throughout our cities. And that's important to maintaining in-stream water levels. It's important to maintaining groundwater levels that might be feeding wells elsewhere and supplying the root zone of so many plants with the soil moisture they need to survive and thrive. The basin of the rain garden is where the majority of the infiltration happens, but it's fed by the surrounding impervious landscape and connected, in this case, by a swale that connects to the downspouts of this building. And it's a great candidate for rain gardens because it has a clean roof material. It has clay tile, meaning that it's not going to have any chemicals that are coming out of an asphalt shingle. So the work the rain garden has to do is actually a lot less. So that water, before it arrives here in the basin to infiltrate, moves down this stream channel, essentially, that we built to connect these downspouts with that basin. In an urban environment, your plant selection becomes even more important than in some more suburban or rural areas because the plants have the opportunity to do many, many functions that are otherwise missing from that urban environment. So when we were building this rain garden, we also thought, well, what are some other key ecosystem services that are missing from your average urban environment? And one of them is support for pollinators and other native insects. So happily, a lot of native plants, as well as many horticultural plants, can help support pollinators. And we were thoughtful about making sure we had a selection of flowering plants here that bloomed over the course of the growing season. So what you can see flowering now are some asters and some goldenrod, which provide late season forage for those pollinators. We also have some echinacea and rudbeckia, which provide kind of the mid-season flower, along with some eupatorium, Joe Pye weed, which is a great native plant that can tolerate the kind of changing water levels that exist in the basin of a rain garden. They can tolerate dry soils and wet soils. And they provide amazing nectar for generalist insects. So these are insects like beneficial wasps that have short mouth parts, unlike a moth or a butterfly that has a long tongue that can reach into these tubular flowers. These kind of have to lap up the nectar from shallow flowers, and things that are in the Apiaceae, things that are in the aster family often provide good generalist nectary support. Some of the plants support insects and other animals not by providing food, but by providing habitat. And so just the dense structure of these ostrich ferns provides cover for some amphibians. We've seen frogs in this garden. It provides cover for rodents, which maybe are not so welcome here in this garden. But also they help provide covered and temperature moderated soils, which can be really important overwintering habitat for native bees. So that's true in species like this ostrich fern, and also true in some of the large bunch grasses that are abundant in the landscape here. So the Springfield Museum is an educational organization, and so they are able to bring a lot of children here as well as people from other age groups. And one of the ways that we can get people engaged with landscapes so that they are curious about them and actually caring about them is by inviting their senses and helping them build relationship with that landscape. One of the most powerful ways that I've found to do that is through the mouth. So we have included several species in this garden which are common to a lot of horticultural landscapes and also native, but that are edible. So the ostrich fern that we talked about is a really great edible. You can eat it in the early spring as a fiddlehead. The Chrysogonum, green and gold, is a terrible edible that you could eat in a zombie apocalypse if you had to. The leaf is can be steamed and is like a tough, stringy, kind of bitter, hairy leaf, but you can eat it if you have to. Solomon seal is a surprisingly delicious edible that is eaten also in the springtime. Wow, that's terrible. And you can eat the shoot like asparagus when it comes out. So one of the key drivers of plant selection in this garden, in addition to the ecosystem services that they provided, was the interaction with the level of maintenance that was available. I was told that this garden should be low maintenance and appear full a lot of the time. So for me, that translated to exuberant plants that had the ability to spread and compete very well against weeds. So the Packera aurea, or the golden groundsel, is a great example of a plant like that. It'll thrive in a shady condition and it will fill in the space, and even though you can see certain common weeds coming into it, it overwhelms them during the main growing season, especially when there's a little bit of extra moisture around, which there really isn't right now. And I also selected plants that had differential propagation strategies. So we used the bleeding heart and the Packera together because they were able to intertwine and create this really exciting polyculture. Multiple species of plants growing in one place. So native grasses as well as non-invasive exotic grasses can be a really important part of the landscape because they can provide a really nice screen between urban lots. I don't know if you can hear it right now, but they make a beautiful sound of a living landscape. And they also provide great habitat. Animals can live in and around their crowns. Certain grasses that have more rigid stems and produce a thicker stalk actually can be a place where native bees and other insects can drill into and lay their eggs, providing either an overwintering or a brooding location. These are a great example of the kind of flower form that provides that habitat or that forage for generalist nectary insects, and a really wonderful late season forage opportunity. You know, here we are in the last days of September, and this flower is in full bloom. And one of the things that's really exciting about it is to see the variety of insects that come here. Right now, you can see there's actually just houseflies feeding on this, and some, I don't know what kind of green flies these are, but random green flies. And usually I have seen lots of different types of wasps on this particular flower in this place.